Good afternoon, all of you. My name is Khushboo Gupta, Associate Professor in IIMT. Today, my topic of presentation is nervous system. Nervous system is basically the system which comprises of the brain and the skull and all other body parts. It is mainly it is divided into two parts, the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is composed of brain and spinal cord, and in peripheral nervous system we study about the nerve tissues, which all branches out throughout the body. All these parts. Now, for further studying the nervous system, we should first know what are the neurons. Neurons are the nerve cells, which are the structural and functional unit of nervous system. They conduct impulses from the body to interact with the internal and the external environment. There are various types of neurons, and the tissues which support these neurons are known as neuroglia. The types of neurons are motor neurons, which have one axon and several dendrites. The axon is covered with an insulated fatty layer, is known as myelin sheath, and it transmits the signal from one area to another. They are short and unsheathed. Motor neurons causes muscle contraction and control secretions from glands and organs. They also control various body functions. The types of neurons are sensory neurons, motor neurons, and interneurons. The sensory neurons, they do not have true dendrites. They are attached to the sensory receptor and transmit the impulses to the central nervous system, which then stimulates the interneurons and motor neurons. Interneurons are located entirely within the central nervous system. They intercept the impulses from the sensory neurons and transmit the signals to the motor neurons. What are nerve fibers? These are Schwann cells which are found on peripheral nerves, which can regenerate myelin sheath on a nerve, a fatty layer of insulation nerve fibers. There are no Schwann cells on nerve fibers in the central nervous system. Therefore, damage to those nerve fibers is not possible. A bundle of nerve fibers is known as a nerve. There are two types of nerves, afferent and efferent. Afferent nerves conduct impulses to the central nervous system, and efferent nerve conduct impulses to the muscles, organs, and glands. Now, what are synapses? These are nerve impulses which are transmitted via branches called synapses. These are connectors hooking dendrites and axons from one neuron to the another neuron. The number of synapses that influences transmission, that numbers can decrease with the disease because of lack of stimulation or lack of drug. Therefore, I must suggest that if you are suffering from any disease, then the number of synaptic transmission is very essential. If this synaptic transmission is stopped or inhibited in any way, then the disease may progress day by day. Now, what are the gray and white matter of the central nervous system? As I have told you earlier, the brain and spinal cord comprised of central nervous system. Both these brain and spinal cord of the central nervous system receives impulses, process the information, and respond with the appropriate action. Gray matter of the brain and spinal cord consists of unsheathed nerve fibers and the cortex or surface layer. The white matter makes up the internal structure and it consists of myelinated nerve fibers. The meninges of brain and spinal cord are enclosed by three membranes which are known as meninges. These three membranes are: the outer layer is dura mater. As you can see in the picture here, the outer layer is dura mater, the middle membrane is arachnoid, and the inside membrane is pia mater. Taking up the 7/8 of the brain waves, the cerebrum governs all the sensory and motor activities. This includes sensory perception, emotions, consciousness, memory, and voluntary movement. It is divided into the left and right hemisphere. The surface of cortex is arranged in bulging folds, which are known as gyrus and furrow. These folds are Each one of these folds are known as sulcus. This is a diagram of cerebrum. The cortex is divided into four lobes, as you can see in the picture, that corresponds to the overlying bones of the skull. The frontal lobe specializes in motor activity, personality, and speech. The parietal lobe is where language, temperature, pressure, touch are interpreted. The temporal lobe contains centers for hearing, smell, and language input. And the occipital lobe is specialized in vision. So all these lobes, four lobes, are specialized for their individual function. Now, cerebellum. The cerebellum is the second largest part of the brain. It contains nerve fibers that connect it to the every part of the central nervous system. It coordinates voluntary and involuntary patterns of movements, and it also adjusts muscles to automatically maintain the posture. Now, the parts of brain. The first part is diencephalon, which refers to the thalamus and hypothalamus. The thalamus is the relay center for all sensory impulses except olfactory and motor areas. The hypothalamus regulates behavior and emotional expression, body temperature, and many metabolic activities. Attached to the pituitary gland, it also controls hormonal secretions of this gland. Brainstem consists of three structures. The gray matter of the midbrain controls visual reflexes and sense of hearing. The white matter of the pons play a role in regulating visceral organs. Now last one, the third, medulla oblongata. It connects the rest of the brain to the spinal cord, and it regulates breathing, swallowing, coughing, sneezing, vomiting, heartbeat, and blood pressure. The spinal cord has 31 segments. It has 8 cervical segments, T1 to C8, 12 thoracic, T1 to T12, as you can also see in the image below, 5 lumbar segments, L1 to L5, 5 sacral segments, S1 to S5, and 1 coccygeal segment. See this image, cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum, and coccyx. The spinal cord is divided into these segments. The 44 centimeter long spinal cord is shorter than the spinal column, so segments do not perfectly correspond to the vertebrae. At each segment of the spinal cord, left and right pairs of sensory and motor nerves branch out and connect to the peripheral nervous system. Impulses travel back and forth to the brain and back to the muscle. Cerebrospinal fluid. It is a colorless fluid. It is produced in the ventricles of the brain. It surrounds the brain and spinal cord. It is also known as cerebrospinal fluid. And what is the use of this cerebrospinal fluid? It cushions the brain and cord from shock that could cause injury. So it provides a cushion in our brain to protect it from any type of external injury. It is maintained at a level around 1/2 to 2/3 curve. Peripheral nervous system, the network of nerves branching out throughout the body from the brain and spinal cord, is known as peripheral nervous system. In addition to these 31 pairs, which I have mentioned earlier, there are also 12 pairs of cranial nerves that attach to the brain. What are the 12? The optic nerve, oculomotor nerve, trochlear nerve, trigeminal nerve, facial nerve, auditory nerve, glossopharyngeal nerve, vagus nerve, accessory nerve, and hypoglossal nerve. All these nerves have different functions. For example, the optic nerve is used for vision. Oculomotor is the muscle of eye and eyelid. Trochlear nerve controls the eyeball. Trigeminal nerve controls the face, nose, mouth, forehead, and jaw. Facial nerve controls muscles of the face and scalp and part of the tongue for taste. Auditory nerve provides sensory functions for hearing and equilibrium. Glossopharyngeal nerves control saliva and taste. Vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve which extends to the heart, lungs, stomach, and intestine. The accessory nerve permits movement of the head and shoulders. The hypoglossal nerve controls the muscle of the tongue. The autonomic nervous system is a part of peripheral nervous system which controls the involuntary body functions such as sweating, glands, secretions, blood pressure, and the heart. Now, as I have told you earlier, that it is divided into central and autonomic nervous system. The central nervous system consists of nerves and nerve fibers, whereas the autonomic nervous system controls the functions of sweating, glands, secretions, and blood pressure. It is further divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is responsible for flight or fight responses. It is responsible for increased alertness, metabolic rate, respiration, blood pressure, heart rate, sweating, and decrease in digestive and urinary function. The parasympathetic nervous system is the opposite of sympathetic nervous system. It helps in restoring the homeostasis. Thank you.